Hi there, it's Carol with Carolbcrafts. Today we'll be making these beautiful Valentine's Day candle wraps. They are for flameless candles. You would not want to use these in a real candle because they're made of paper and cardstock, and paper and cardstock burns. So it would not be a good idea to use it in a real candle. But they do add some beautiful decorations to your flameless candles. Now this is project 2 in my Meant to Be January Club Kit. Check out my website www.cutstampcreateclub.com to see what current club kit I'm offering. In the January Club Kit we're using the Meant to Be bundle, which includes the stamps and all of these gorgeous dies. If you'd like to purchase anything you see in the video, check out my website www.carolbcrafts.com to get the host code so that you can earn customer rewards with every purchase when you use the host code on my website. Now if you don't have the club kit, don't worry, I'll give the dimensions as we go along and the supplies so that you can make these adorable candle wraps along with us. Okay, for your supplies, you're going to need a piece of Whisper White cardstock, 11 inches by 3/8 of an inch. You'll need 3 pieces of lovely lipstick cardstock, 3 by 3. You'll need 3 pieces of Flirty Flamingo cardstock, 1 piece that's 3 by 3 inches, and 2 pieces that are 3 by 2 inches. You'll need a piece of the silver metallic foil, 1.5 by 2 inches. You'll need a piece of Sizzix adhesive sheets, 3 by 6. You're going to need some pearls, 1 large, 2 medium, and 2 small. You'll need a piece of the lovely lipstick gross grain ribbon, 9 inches. And we'll be using lovely lipstick ink. So the first thing we're going to do is our stamping. I have a piece of scratch paper here and my 3/8 by 11 inch Whisper White. Now you could, if you're going to put it on a beige candle, you might want to use the very vanilla cardstock to make your band. So I am going to need a stamp block, and I've got a D block here. And the stamp that we're going to be using is this one right here, this decorative heart. I'm going to put that on our D block. And we're going to stamp that across our strip, and we're going to basically alternate. So we'll just do that way, and then we're going to flip it upside down and do it this way. Kind of helps, I guess, if you hold it in place. And then I'm going to just basically stamp all the way across, and it doesn't have to be perfect. Just have to keep alternating so that you can kind of keep the pattern going. Okay, so we have it stamped all the way across. So that's all the stamping that we have to do. So we'll set that up here aside, and now we're going to get our 3 pieces of lovely lipstick, 3 by 3 inches. And we're going to die cut those with this medium scallop die right here, the one in the center. And we'll go ahead, we're going to cut 3 of those. Okay, so these are the 3 pieces that we're going to use, these 3 hearts here. These you can use for another project. So we'll put that die back. Now 2 of these we're going to die cut with this little stitched die here. And what this die does here, if I can get it out, this die, it puts a stitching around your heart. So 2 of these are going to have stitching around them. So we'll just place that in place and run it through our big shot. We're going to do 2 of them. So now we have stitching. This die doesn't actually cut, it just puts the stitching around the heart, which makes it really pretty. So those are ready. Now we're going to cut 2 of the smallest scalloped heart from our 2" by 3" Flirty Flamingo cardstock. So we have our 2 small hearts. So next we're going to cut these 2 little hearts here, these 2 Flirty Flamingo hearts, and they come from this die right here. So what we're going to do is just cut half of this, and there should be a couple of hearts here that you can pick out that are about the same size. So we're just going to run this through our Big Shot. So here are my hearts, and I think I will take this one and this one here. So those 2 hearts are the ones I'm going to use. Okay, so the next pieces we're going to die cut, we're going to need to put some adhesive sheet on them. So we have our 3 by 3 Flirty Flamingo and our 1.5 by 2 silver metallic sheeting. So we're going to just, where it says pull here, we're just going to pull it right off. Set that aside for right now. Put this down as close to that non-sticky strip there at the bottom. And then we're going to take this and we're just going to put it up, not right up against, but close to. Be sure not to get any of the glue on the sticky on there, on your metallic sheeting. Replace that. And then I'm going to take my gooey scissors and I'm going to cut there along the edges of my cardstock and my metal sheeting, because it doesn't, I don't want that sticky on my plates of my Big Shot. So now we're going to die cut this little filigree heart here, and I think I might cut these in half because this I'm going to have to run back and forth several times, and I won't have to do that with my silver. So the silver, we're going to cut our rose die, this little die right here. So rose die for the silver and the filigree heart for the Flirty Flamingo. Okay, for the heart, I went back and forth about 3 times just to make sure, and you can kind of feel that if the die went all the way through. And then we have our rose. So I'm not going to try to take off those little pieces right now. I'm going to wait till I'm ready to assemble it and remove the adhesive backing. Okay, so we are ready to assemble. So this is going to be our strip, and I'm just going to kind of do this with my fingers, like move it around so that I can put like a curve in it. I think it'll work better if you already have a curve in it. Now we're going to adhere these to the strip with some multi-purpose glue. So we'll start with finding the center, and we can do this. We know it's 11, so 5.5 is the center, and we're just going to mark it with a pencil. 5.5 right here. So that's my center. So I know that's where this heart is going to go. Here. And then this heart is going to be tucked underneath there. And this heart is going to be tucked underneath. And then this heart here will be on the side. I must have some glue on my thumb because it keeps sticking. And then later on we'll put these in the center. Yeah, I do have some glue on my finger because it's sticking. Hold on. So that's how we're going to want to place them. So we'll go ahead and figure out, I'm going to, so what you want to do is put these in place the way you want them. Have even edges on both sides. And then you're going to remove this and make a mark, and remove this and make a mark, and that's going to tell you where you're going to want to put your first, your red hearts with the stitching. right there, and you want them kind of in the center. So we're going to put some glue between these two marks. We're going to put a strip of glue, some dots close together. You don't want too much because then it will run. I'm just going to put a bunch of glue dots right here across the front. So I have my glue dots across the front between those two marks. So now I know that I want this heart to be right about there. I'll hold it in place till it dries or sets well enough. And I know this stitched heart is going to go here and centered across, and hold it in place. And you can use the grid lines if you have grid paper to help you place those so that they're the same distance on the strip of cardstock. Okay, so now this one is going to go in the center between these two, just like that. It's going to go a little bit higher than those, so we're going to put that up just a little bit higher. Be careful not to get glue on the outside of your hearts. I would say about 1/8 of an inch higher. Keep a wipe handy to keep your fingers clean of the glue. And now we can put our little, we're going to put some glue kind of right here on the edges, not very much, where we're going to put these smaller hearts. Hold them in place till they set. I'm going to bring it back up and just kind of, careful not to get glue on anything, and kind of just bend them before that glue sets perfectly, just to get that bend in there. You don't want to crease your hearts, you just want to bend them. Okay, so we have a little bit of a bend, that's good. So now I'm going to go ahead and remove the backing from this heart with my piercing tool. And I'm hoping that most of this, I'm going to rub it just to make sure. I'm hoping that most of these little pieces will stay down. It does help to rub it. There, so most of them did stay in there. That's good. And the rest I can just poke out. I'm going to use the paper below to do that. And then if you have any that like stick to the back, you can just kind of brush them off with your piercing tool. So when you've got all those little pieces off the back that were left over, you're ready to put it on the front, and you're just going to line it up so that your red heart is, your lovely lipstick heart is in the center. So now we're ready to put, I'm going to bend that a little bit too so that it bends. Now we're ready to put our rose on, and it's going to go right here. So we'll have to take the backing off of our rose. Now this one I think I will go ahead and push through. These are not quite as many little pieces as the heart is. So make sure you get everything off the back that wants to stick to it, that's not supposed to be there, and then you're going to kind of put a little bit of a bend in your rose. And the leaves, the two little leaves are going to go on your left to the front, end in the center, right about there. You want to leave room for your bow that's going to go here. So we're going to push that down. Now these we can put on with glue or with the mini glue dots. And I think I will use mini glue dots. And so I'm going to put a mini glue dot on the back of this heart. Use my piercing tool. And just put it kind of right here in the center. Do the same with the other one. Just put it in the center here. About the same distance, so it looks even. Press it in. Okay, now we're ready to put it on our candle and add our pearls. Okay, so I'm going to be putting this one on a white candle. Now this has a waxy finish. It is not a real candle. You would not want to put this on a real candle because it's made of paper and paper will burn. So just remember, you only want to put these on the flameless candles. Like that. Okay, so I'm going to get, now you can use glue if you don't want to use glue probably because it's permanent. Glue is permanent, so you probably want to use either a mini glue dots or tear and tape. So I've had a problem with mini glue dots. I don't know if it's because they're under a heat vent or what, but they give way. So I'm going to use some of the tear and tape. And what I'm going to do is wrap this around the back. So that will be my front. I'm going to wrap this around the back. And then I'm going to measure and mark just where this ends. I'm going to mark a little bit in because I don't want the mark to show. And that's going to tell me I'm going to put my adhesive from this mark to the end there. Now you can use glue dots, you can use tear and tape, and you could use glue, but I'm just going to use the tape. It's up to you, whatever you want to use. Use my gooey scissors. And I'm going to burnish that down good. And I'm going to remove it. And then I'm going to wrap it back around my candle. Whoops! Don't do that. Now, you want to put it so that the sticky part is at the bottom. Then you're just going to wrap this around tight enough so that it will stay on the candle. Be sure it's at the height that you want. If you want a little bit lower, make sure it's where you want it. And then you're just going to wrap it around and push it in that adhesive, making sure the edges are even. And then you have your candle wrap. Now I'm also going to still add the pearls. We have one large pearl. It's going to go in the center of our rose right here. And this really adds a lot to the candle wrap. And then on these two smaller hearts, we're going to put our medium size pearls kind of in the center. Maybe a little bit more over here. And then the smallest pearls are going to go on our, in this kind of here, and not quite in the center, but sort of in the center. In the center, but not in the middle. So you want it so that your pearls are kind of all going straight across, like that. so they look symmetrical. All right, so now we're going to put the bow on, and it will be finished. Now the bow is simple. We're just going to make a loop with our lovely lipstick and leave about that much tail, about an inch. Bring this around your thumb and then around the back. Make sure this stays flat. Push this loop here, push it through, push this through the where your thumb is, and pull. Make sure everything stays good and flat, and then you can adjust it as you need it to make it the size that you want. This is a relatively small bow, so a little bit of adjusting to do. I think that's good. So when you're happy with it, pull it nice and tight, fluff up the edges, the sides like that, and then put your glue dot right there behind your bow. I'm going to use a couple because I want to make sure that it stays. And then you're just going to place it kind of in this area above the heart, below the rose above the heart. And then you're going to get your scissors, nice sharp scissors, and you're going to trim your bow. Okay, so I realized that I needed to trim this. I looked at the one that I had and I'm like, it doesn't look the same. So what you need to do is you need to trim here. You're basically trimming out the rose, and then you're leaving this one little flower right there, the one little leaf. Everything else you trim away. So you're going to trim away this part right here, so you can see where I trimmed away everything except this one little leaf right here. So now we can put it on our candle, and it's going to look more like what we were used to. Now that looks a lot better. It doesn't look as heavy. So I'll replace my pearl. There we go. That looks much better. I couldn't figure out what it was that looked different. So that looks, to me, that looks better. Just cutting off that little bit right there helps take some of the weight off of that flower. And it looks more like this one here, which is my original one. Okay, so that's our project 2 for our Meant to Be January Club Kit. Check out my website, www.cutstampcreateclub.com, to see what current classes and club kits I'm offering. Thanks for watching. Bye now.